This Naruto player is insanely strong, and his name is OG triple triple 96. And what I mean by that is not so much about where, what rank he is online in Naruto Storm connections or how much BP he has or anything like that. It's more about his fundamentals, his skill, and how good he is. And I actually did an ultimate battle analysis maybe a while ago, and I broke down all of his skills in about 20 different categories. And his overall ranking became an 86. This is something I used to do for most of all the top players that ever played Storm 3 back in the day. And this is how I became so good at the game, and this is how I became a top player back in the day, early on in the game. And those videos were posted on the old channel, and thousands of people saw those wins and all those videos. So, I mean, the community is very different, right? So it's like two things. Why am I not doing as many battle analysis now, and why am I not interacting with, higher level players in the community now? And a big reason for that is that things have changed. People have changed. People don't value certain things. People don't care so much about certain things, whereas before they cared more about those things. And some of those things, important things, are values, standards, having mutual respect, having genuine and real experiences, right? People are very, there's multi-factors to this. Maybe they just, they don't want to think that deep about something. They just want to play. But on the other side of that, it's they lack critical thinking, right? And that's fine. But at the same time, it's very difficult to interact with someone like that when you're a critical thinker. You think deeply about something. And if you're not appreciated, if you're not respected, if people disrespect you, if people literally try to bully and cyberbully you, which I'm okay with, I wish it wasn't the case. It kind of shows the community for what it is, right? But I don't like that that's happening. One, that person is doing that, because someone who bullies somebody else, someone who cyberbullies somebody else, right? They are a very hurt person on the inside, and they don't realize it. They're hurting a lot, and they'll probably, they might come out of that, but they may never come out of that. And then when they do, it might be too late, and a lot of damage will have been done to themselves, not just other people. People don't realize that, but bullies hurt themselves, right? So there's a certain buffer, right? I would say, where I interact with certain parts of the community and I don't interact with other parts. I know a lot of stuff happens in the background in Discords where people talk about things. And the problem with doing that instead of putting it out in the open is that you're not actually allowing the other person to defend themselves, right? Now, this is the thing. People will hear that and say, they'll think of it one way and they try to win an argument, right? But that, you cannot help people that don't want to help themselves, and you cannot help someone who doesn't think that they have a problem. So if you do put something out in the open and there's open discourse and open discussion, a lot of times that's good, because that's the only way that you can actually achieve some kind of transformation or betterment or evolution. But in a situation where people do not listen to the other person, they're not genuinely trying to understand the other person's point of opinion, this is absolutely pointless and even more harmful. You should still do it, you should still try, but if you see that the other people are very difficult to deal with, if you see that the other people are not listening or hearing your point of view, if you're seeing that, certain people can't be helped, it's extremely toxic, right? There's just no hope, there's no shot, right? So it is what it is. I'm very aware that, there's different levels to different things, there's different timelines to different things, but as someone who was, a very high level competitor in the past, and then came back to Storm 4 and became a very high level in Storm 4, right? Some people think I'm not good at Storm 4 because I didn't play certain people. That's not true. I actually am one of the few people in the world that can just look at how someone plays, and I know exactly how good they are, and I know how good I am in relation to them. I don't even need to play them, right? That is very interesting. I think the one tournament that I was commentating on Mr. Air Force's channel, or Mr. E, back in the day, maybe like a year or two ago, I literally coached the one guy how to beat the other guy, and the other guy how to beat the other guy. I was like, pick 2-man teams, go against his 3-man teams, and then do this. They weren't getting it, and then I literally told them, do this, 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 and then they won. And then the other guys like pick 2-man teams, and then they switched. Then the other guy went back to 3-mans, and then I coached the other guy how to beat the other guy with 2-man teams. And to this day, people still thought, oh, 2-man teams are not good in Storm 4, and they're not competitive. But literally in a competitive setting, in a tournament, I coached them how to do that. How do you think that I knew how to do that? So people might ask, like, overall, okay, respect and all that. That's fine. Even if people don't respect, as long as the netcode is good, then I would play anybody. I honestly don't care. But the game doesn't have a stable online. I would rather play Overwatch. I would rather play, Final Fantasy 14 or whatever. Anything that has a better, like a stable netcode, I would get into that. Part of the reason why I haven't got into 2D fighters that much is I would be a beginner. I'd be starting from the beginning, whereas I'm a master right now in Storm games. I have put my hours in on Overwatch, so I definitely am a very high level player in with Zenyatta and Brigitte, and maybe Ana as well. So there's that. But it's really interesting, like, everything comes back to the netcode in this game, right? So for 10 years out of 13 that I played these games, I never quit. I never rage quit. I never left. I never did any of those things, right? If I did, it was like 1 in 500 people or 1 in 1,000 people. It wasn't a big deal. It was like if it was like a super red bar or something, like super, super fake. But I fought through it. Always. I always advocated for it. But for about a 2-week period, and sometimes like one-offs, like the 1 in 500 times I actually left, people held my feet to the fire. And I think that's crazy that people didn't understand my perspective. And then those people betrayed me, recorded those videos, shared screenshots to slander me, discredit me, and lower my influence, as well as try to say that I'm not good at the game, when there's so much more evidence that suggests and proves that I'm extremely skilled at connections, at Storm 4, at all the Storm games, right? But people focus on the thing that will prove their argument, even though they know that they're wrong. And I think, why does that happen? Either they're very ignorant or very stupid, right? Or they honestly are just very, very scared. Right? They may not have a very well-developed super ego. They might be more about an id, which is just instant gratification and pleasure. And there's a lot to that, right? What can I say here? So that is a very long-winded intro, but we're going to get into this video with this player. I like this player so much, but of course, the netcode giveth and it taketh away, right? It gives and it takes away. So unfortunately, the first 2 fights I had with this guy was on a different account. And the first time I played him, he beat me. The second time I played him, I beat him. And I told him he was a legend, right? I told him he was a legend, and I told him he was a really good player. And I accepted that defeat, and I know it was a defeat. And then I won, and he accepted and said GG. So he won 1, I won 1. But then I played him on my main account, and I left, I think, 2 or 3 times, the first 2 or 3 times I played him, because I could not move, right? This gave him a bad impression of me. And after that, it was almost impossible to get in his mind positive of me. But we played many times after this, where I beat him, I think, 5 out of the 6 times or something that we played. And he kept playing, but he kept losing. And I think that was the turning point, because at this point, overall in his head, we were about even. Even though now it's like, realistically, probably I'm up 1 or 2 if you were to analyze every fight, right, and see where the leg advantage and disadvantage was. But then these set of 3 fights really changed his opinion, because you have to understand, from his perspective, he thinks I'm a rage quitter, weak, whatever, and he thinks he's better than me. But in these 3 fights, I end up winning all of these 3 fights, and he doesn't win a single fight. So now, in his head, I'm up quite a few fights, right? Maybe three or so fights in overall all the fights. Like, if you just look at all the fights, leaving, winning, whatever, right? But from what my perspective is, from my analytical perspective, right? And from my perspective of being able to move and not move, I am up many fights. Like, I'm probably up 5 or 6 fights positive on him, over him, more than him. Like we were 50-50, then I went up 5 or 6 more. And it's crazy. It did take all that, but eventually in this last fight, in the last fight in this video, he claps for me. I turned his perspective around, right? And I got him to clap for me and acknowledge my skill and my strength. And I thought that was really interesting. Like, regardless if he likes me or doesn't like me, I think this person is a very skilled player. I thought he was good enough to do a battle analysis on. But back in the day, if you were to do a battle analysis on something, there would be hundreds of comments. If like I would say like 50, okay, at a minimum there'd be like 50 to 100 plus comments, and everyone would interact with that material. They would say, "Oh, I see where they are good and where they, what I can learn from them, and I'm so grateful to this person because they're so good at this and now I can work on that, and this person taught me that, and that's awesome." And then it's like, well, and then I could come in and be like, "Well, how could he improve?" And then we looked at how that person can still improve even though they're a good player. The other element to that is I always put like usually the like half wins and half losses. I might play the people like 20 to 40 times, right? And then I'll put 2 wins and 2 losses. But the thing I was way too nice to people before. I try to be good now instead of be nice, because everyone, especially nowadays, takes advantage of nice people, even more than they did before. So I'm not very concerned on being fair or nice, right? I'm concerned more about a genuine, authentic experience and a real experience and trying to be as good as possible. But I also don't think you should be kind or good to people that are not good to you. I'm not, like a holy person or something. I'm a human being. And I just think that there's a lot of hate and misunderstanding in the world and in the community. And it's really, really unfortunate. Everybody knows that, not everybody knows, most people know, and most people now realize that, they're waiting for Sparking Zero. They're waiting for other games. And they don't realize that that's going to follow you, because wherever you go, there you are. Guys, wherever you go, you're bringing yourself. They all think it's the game. It's not the game. It's the people. It is the game in terms of what the game does to you because of the lack of consistency online, right? And the net code basically giving people free wins and a lot of games being fake. Some of the games are real. I always said this. I never said all the games are fake. I never said all of the losses are fake. It just happens for me specifically, because I am so knowledgeable and skilled at most Storm games, that most of my games are fake. But there are many, 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 many times, where I have said on this channel, "Good game, you really won that one, I lost." That's why I say that, to confirm that for the other person, to give that to the other person, right? And people ignore that information because it's not convenient for them. It doesn't fit their narrative, right? And this is where I say people are ignorant, and they're stupid, and they're not intelligent. And what I would say to those people is, if you have enough time to play video games, please unplug your consoles, your computers, whatever that you don't need for school, right? All your video games and stuff like that, put it in a closet or sell it. Go get a library card, it's free, right? And go read some books. Or do what some people do, which is you read twice as much as you play games. And if you do that, eventually you will increase your intelligence stat. You will become less ignorant, right? Especially if you're reading a diverse amount of things and knowledge and trying to seek out the good, which is the goodness of knowledge, right? And trying to seek out the truth as best as you can. You will improve your intelligence. You will become less ignorant. You will learn to love, the pursuit of knowledge, right? That was a really good move, by the way. I can't believe this guy just has so many good plays, and it's so unfortunate that I can't sit here and just comment and do the battle analysis, because these things need to be said. Because the primary thing here is, and the most important thing here is that I started off, in those about 2 to 3 weeks or so where I was leaving out of the 10 years where I never left, right? It created a lot of negativity in the community. It created a lot of, I would say, butthurt feelings. Because I think a lot of people just want clout. They don't really care, right? They believe their own bullshit. They think that their shit doesn't stink. And it is what it is, guys. But the most amazing thing is that we actually turned it around, and we got this guy to clap for us at the end. So very cool stuff. There's other situations as well where I fought some very high level players, top players, where I was leaving on those people too, right? And then I had the most amazing fight ever, and then everything goes out the window, right? The argument that, oh, I'm just not good, that they're faster than me, that they're stronger than me, that they're better than me, goes out the window because then there's a video, right? Then there's a fight where I'm doing the most amazing things, where I'm outskilling the other person. And then all you hear is radio silence, right? You don't say, oh, you know what? You actually did pretty good here, Fear. Maybe there's something to it. It's because people don't care. They want to get gotcha moments. They're really nasty, disgusting behavior that these people exhibit. And a person can change their behavior. They don't have to be nasty, disgusting, ignorant, stupid, all these kind of things. Pointing out the truth in something is never slander, right? But if someone is saying something about something, right, and it's true, it's not slander. The people are saying that I'm actually slandering other people when they're actually slandering me. People are saying that I'm creating a victim complex when people are actually the ones with the victim complex that are literally regurgitating and parroting my talking points as if they're their own. They don't understand them, and they're getting views for this, and they're getting attention for this. Literally just stealing. It goes down to the fact that people literally will take tech and learn from me and learn strategy from me in this game, take it as their own, and then they don't appreciate or respect that. I don't really want anything from them except for that acknowledgement that, hey, I helped them out. Or not even that. At least don't, like attack me afterwards and, basically use me for teaching how to play the game. And then basically assault me online and cyberbully me online. That's crazy. I'd think that in 2024 people wouldn't be doing that, especially with what's happening in the UK, right? Where people are literally getting arrested for doing these types of things. They're in jail for doing these types of things. So it's really, really crazy to me that people cannot see the truth of things. There he is clapping. And it's really crazy to me that people are so self-absorbed that they just don't have any empathy or care for other people. They only care about their small little tribe and their bubble that they're in, right? Their echo chamber. And it's really concerning to me, right? I've always liked having conversations, especially with people that have different opinions of me. But when someone refuses to budge when there's a good evidence against their point, I mean, what are we doing? We're not really talking, right? We're just kind of grandstanding and virtue signaling, right? So it is what it is, but I think these are some of the last fights I had, and then I uninstalled the game for about a week or so. I forget when the patch came out. I actually played for the first time yesterday with just some friends, and the only reason why I reinstalled the game and played was because there were some friends playing that I hadn't played in a long time, and I wanted to play the game with them. I wanted to play the game, and I wanted to see if the game was good or not. And what we found was that the button configuration changed. One of the guys wasn't able to block. Another guy wasn't able to use jitsus. I've seen that was in that session. I got kicked out twice after winning, so I couldn't keep my streak. I won every game. I think I won every 4 or 5 games, but I had to keep coming back into the lobby, going back into the session, typing in the number and coming in, and it kept kicking me out. The game will kick you out. Before that, when I left, part of the reason why I left is because I think the penalty is great. I advocated for the penalty, right? But the problem is now the game kicks you out. Like it's a glitch. The game will kick you out. You don't leave. Like you want to actually stay in the game. Even if you're winning, you want to stay in the game. The game will kick you out and then give you a penalty. So now the penalty is basically wrongfully accusing people and giving them penalties in many situations. So the buttons don't work. It changes your button configurations. It's wrongfully accusing you and penalizing you. And the lag is really, really bad. So it's really, really interesting. But there was this small good thing that came in here where the guy clapped, and that symbolizes a change that some people could change. And I really like this guy. I wanted to have a good experience with him, but I also put my foot down and said I do not want to have any fake or unreal experiences anymore because I just don't care. Like I don't understand what we're doing out there if the games are lagging all the time and we're having fake games and people are getting fake wins and losses. And I just know that this community has changed a lot. It is at the worst point it has ever been, and there is a good chance the game will die if it's not already dead, especially when other anime games come out. So it's very unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate, but it is what it is. I don't, playing the game last night after like over about a week or so or more of not playing it doesn't really change my opinion too much about it. I do wish I could play the game, but when a game doesn't want you to play it, right? When the game is anti-competitive in so many different ways, when the community is in an echo chamber and they don't really use thought, reason, or logic, and the community basically cannibalizes itself, right? Even if you wanted to help the community, you can't really. It's going to be whatever it is. I think the cancer has grown deep in this community. Um, the hatred has grown deep in this community. The lack of appreciation, the lack of value standards has grown deep in this community. Um, the lack of awareness has grown deep in this community. And what you end up left with is it's not just, it's in shambles, the community's in shambles, but what you're left with is something very dangerous and very toxic. And it's very unfortunate because it's the opposite of the anime, right? The anime is such a beautiful thing. It's such an amazing thing. Almost all the players that play the games, if not all the players, know about the anime. They love the anime, whether it's Naruto or Boruto or Naruto Shippuden. And it's very sad. Even if you just look, the number one most popular character in the anime is Minato, who got his own manga chapter. And he's been nerfed into the ground, not once, but twice. The first nerfed him to the ground. The second nerfed him through the ground. And he's not on the, if you're winning somehow with him and playing with him, it's amazing. I think that these were the first fights after the nerf. So, like, I proved, like, I'm still winning. Like, people are very confused. They think, like, oh, the Minato player is salty, and the Minato player is crying. Like, I'm not crying, dude. I'm winning. I'm still winning like crazy. Like, almost all my games, right? And most of the games I lose are literally due to lag, right? Which is crazy. I don't know, out of the games that I win, I don't know which ones are lagging for the other person or not because no one communicates. No one messages other people and says, hey, I was lagging. And when they do, they're made fun of, they're put down, they're disparaged, and like, really, they're attacked. These people take pride in trying to ruin other people's lives and days. That's the kind of people that we have in this community. Really disgusting behavior. And it's very, very unfortunate. I talk about it not because I am bullied or I'm upset. I talk about it because I don't think that's a good behavior, and I don't want that to happen to other people. Other people have come to me about self-harm, saying that people have bullied me out of this community to the point where I hurt myself. People have come to me and said that. And I think that is so sad and so disgusting that people cannot have humanity in this community, that people cannot have common sense, that people care more about their selfish, ideals and their self-centric opinions than they actually do about cooperation and togetherness, or, a greater good, if anything, a community, a positive community. They use buzzwords like community or gaslighting or whatever, I'm a nice person, I'm a good person, all this. They use these buzzwords, but they actually are the furthest thing from that, right? That you can possibly imagine. And it's so sad when someone actually tries to build a positive, healthy community, especially from the ground up. People don't want you to shine. They would rather, destroy themselves and you know, just so that you don't shine and so that there isn't positivity and so that there isn't a positive community. That's how crazy things have become. And a lot of good people are the ones that end up leaving. A lot of the good people are the ones that say, hey, I don't want to put up with this, right? that this is not how a community should be. And I personally think that the developers of this game know how toxic this community is. I think that they know how horrible it is, because a lot of people forget this, but we actually had, I remember Storms HD, he actually was doing real commentating, live commentating in person, I think in Europe, for Bandai Namco to do the first official tournaments through Bandai in a large setting. And they recruited some female um, live commentators as well to do that. And this I forget her name, but she was phenomenal, a really nice person, and she did a great job commentating, especially for a game series that she didn't know that well. And she did fantastic, but the people in the live chat were literally sexually harassing her. And the ones that weren't, and there was a lot of ones that weren't, but they were still doing bad things, and the bad things they were doing were they were just being like, they were super just putting her down and making fun of her, and they were just, it was just behavior that was um, not something that anyone would enjoy watching. Like, from my perspective, I was like, oh my god, what are they doing? Like, what are these people doing? Why are they acting like that? And it's just an immaturity, and it's a toxicity, and it's a lack of understanding, right? So that after that, I don't think they weren't that many live events, right? Like, there were these Wizard World tournaments for Storm 4, sure, but they changed it up. They got I think it was it Tasty Steve, I think his name is, and forget the other guy's name. They got two well-known commentators that were that had a really good track record, that had played the games, and I don't think there were very many problems after that. And it's just unfortunate, though, that there was that situation. A lot of bullying, a lot of bad things happened, and things have only gotten worse. And things have only, they're still there, but it's camouflage. It's word and logic gymnastics are happening, right? But it's an infertile place to be. It's an unwelcoming place to be. It's just, it's very, very sad. And I think that if they just fix the netcode, at least people would be able to, see who's really skilled and not skilled, and they'd know what needs balancing and not balancing. But the way that it is now, only certain types of people that will be able to play the game. And I think that if they actually did fix the netcode and all that, I think a lot of people from the traditional fighting game community that play traditional fighting games would come over, and I think they would just absolutely dominate and destroy the actual most of the people that are made a name for themselves in the Storm community, because I think that a lot of the advantage that they get is just through lag advantage online. And I think a lot of it is just through the certain types of meta teams that they play. Do they have skill? Of course they do, to a certain level, but how much and who's better than who, it's impossible to know. Things are all over the place, right? But I don't know. I think overall, to get just that little bit of good from the community when there's so much bad is it really worth your time? I wouldn't really recommend this game to anyone at this point. And I definitely think it's a toxic game that the world would be better off not having these games, right? My conclusion to all this is the world is not a better place because of Storm games, and the world would be better off not having them. You're better off spending your time doing something else, because it's a thief and it will steal your time. It will negatively affect you. The only way to play the game really is with friends, people that you know and have known a long time. Because even people like a lot of people that I do play, like a lot of new people I play, some of them are super cool, but then a lot of them just complain about stuff. And that's not really my jam. My jam is not to complain about the how strong a support is, right? What do I do instead? When the supports were the strongest in the first patch, I was the only person to do no support challenge and to win in ranked. I got like a 19 or 18 game win streak winning in rank with no support when there was armor. The most amazing thing, right? These are the most amazing feats. And it got a lot of attention. But even the people that criticize, the people that are in the quote unquote competitive community, right? Not a single one of them left any comments. Because I don't know. It's just, to me, that's sick. It's absolutely sick. Um, this community hates itself. It cannibalizes itself, and it can't get along with itself. It will to a certain point, but then eventually people end up fighting, and then the whole thing falls apart and breaks apart, and then people create distance, and people want different things. It's a little bit confusing, and it's a little bit out to lunch. My recommendation is, if you're gonna play games, read twice as much as you play games. Like, read, literature. Try to, increase your intelligence stat. Try to see what's going on in the world. Don't just read from one source. Read from all the different sources so you can get and develop your own opinion. And if you're gonna play video games, make sure that they're play offline or play games that have flawless online. Those are my recommendations.